Bam! Do you know what this is? This is Surfboard Overpour Resin from ringsupplies.com. Bam! Do you know what this is? This is a black ceramic double channel inlay ring core from ringsupplies.com. In this video, I'm going to turn them into a ring. I've never seen the process of anyone turning surfboard resin into a ring before, so if you're watching the video, like the damn video, help a brother out. Maybe subscribe as well. If you want to see more videos, then you can subscribe. Let's get on with the project. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, this ring will be made out of surfboard resin, which is the overpour from where they glass surfboards. So the cool thing is that each one of those layers of color is from where a surfboard was being made, which I think is really, really cool. And I decided for a challenge to couple this cool surfboard resin material with a ring core with teeny tiny thin little inlay bands, because I'm sadistic like that myself, and I thought it would be a fun challenge. So the first step was to measure the outer diameter of the inlay channels. That way I could determine how big a hole I needed to put in this piece of surfboard resin. It turned out that the outer diameter of those inlay channels was 22.6 mil, and so the first job I needed to do was to make a hole that big in this piece of resin. So I trimmed the piece of resin down into a manageable chunk that I could mount into the jaws of my chuck on my lathe, and I honestly found this is the best way to drill this stuff. I just used the progressively larger drill bits and drilled it at a really slow speed, because originally I tried to drill this in my drill press, and this is what happened. Yeah, not great. What I learned very quickly using this material was that those beautiful layers of different colored resins can delaminate very often and very easily. So I just took it really, really easy with all the machining. And like I said, just drilled it real slow with the stepping up gradually until I got like a 20 mil drill bit. One thing I did enjoy about this project was looking at the shavings that came off the surfboard resin. It's almost like My Little Pony took a poop all over my lathe. So yeah, anyway, I made a hole big enough to get a boring tool into the resin. So took a few passes with the boring tool until I brought it up to the right inner diameter, which was 22.6 millimeters. Very precise, even on this terrible lathe, which is honestly on its way out. So I took my digital caliper and measured often, just to make sure that I, machined it to the right size. And luckily I did, got it down to the exact fraction of a millimeter. Which was a bit too big for my finger, but no worries, because that was going to be inlaid into a ring core. So to machine the outside, I mounted the blank onto one of those expanding ring mandrels, and then I was able to use just a standard carbide cutting tool to just zip down that outer diameter. And honestly, the carbide cutting tools cut through this stuff like butter. But again, a major problem I had was that the layers of color or layers of resin would frequently kind of break apart. So if you are going to use this stuff, I recommend keeping a bottle of CA glue handy. I was just able to kind of put on some medium CA glue over any kind of hairline cracks, just to kind of keep the resin blank together. This worked really, really well. I managed to get the resin blank nice and round, and with a decent finish on the surface as well with those carbide cutting tools. With the outside machine so it was round, it was time to cut 2 teeny tiny slithers of this resin to fit into those inlay channels, which were only 2mm wide. Quite a challenge with something that likes to break apart and explode. So I just used the parting tool and just took it really gently, and just tried to avoid breaking the material. But actually this stage went surprisingly well. So I was able to just part off 2 tiny little slithers that were slightly over 2mm, but I'd rather have a little bit too much than too little at this stage. To bring the 2 rings down to width and deburr the edges, I used some sandpaper, which also served the purpose of bringing the 2 rings down to the right width, which was around 2mm. As I was sanding, both of these little rings actually broke, but that was kind of a good thing. You can see that the one of them snapped just at the seam of where 2 layers of resin kind of met, but this meant that I was actually able to test fit it into the inlay channel of the ceramic ring core, and just being really gentle I was able to kind of snap that into place just to check that everything was a good fit, which it was. So that was really cool. So I just thought I'd move on and just glue the pieces in. To glue the pieces into the ceramic ring core, I used just a 2-part epoxy resin, a 5-minute epoxy resin. So I filled the inlay channel with the adhesive and then snapped that bit of surfboard resin into place, gently. And when it was in place, to hold it there, I used a little cable twisty tie thingy mabob, which just held it in place as the epoxy cured. And then I did exactly the same thing with the other inlay channel. With this one, a bit of the resin had kind of broken off, so I just kind of put the biggest chunk in place first, and then placed the smaller bit in, and then just made sure it was a good fit. Put the twisty tie thingy over it and left it to cure. And this worked an absolute treat, and lo and behold, both bits of surfboard resin were in the inlay channels, which was very exciting. So the last job really was to machine down the bits of surfboard resin so that they were flush with the surface of that ceramic ring core. So I just used the carbide cutting tools again to take a few passes and zip down the surfboard resin until it was sort of close but not completely flush with the surface of the ceramic. And then I just used some grits of sandpaper to kind of bring it the rest of the way. So the bonus with this bit is that I was actually polishing the surfboard resin at the same time. So I just worked my way through a few grits of wet and dry sandpaper, like 320, 400, 600, and then 1200 grit. The cool thing about these ceramic ring cores is that sandpaper doesn't seem to do much to them, which was really cool. So I didn't have to do any extra polishing on the actual ring core. And then for a final stage of buffing on the surfboard resin, I used some burnishing cream from Chestnut Products and just rubbed it in and give it a good old buffing. And I came up with a really beautiful finish. So there's a sneaky little peek. I took it off the expanding ring mandrel, cleaned it all up, and I was left with this gorgeous surfboard resin ring in a ceramic ring core, which I thought was really cool, but doesn't really matter what I think, because this was made as a birthday present for my friend Cookie. So let's have a look and see what his reaction was when I gave him his ring. Alright, so James is here. There he is. Say hello, James.
Hello, James.
This is Cookie. It's his birthday. And let's see how he reacts when I give him his present. There you go.
Thank you. Ooh. Mate, that's fucking sick.
Yeah. It's a surfboard overpour surfboard resin.
Sick, mate.
Try it on. Does it fit? It better fit. Woo! All right. Nice. Give the camera a fist pump. Give the boys a fist pump. Nice. All in all, I would say that was a great success. I enjoyed the project. Cookie loved his birthday present, and I hope that you have had fun watching this video. So, if you'd like more ring making tutorials, check out the other videos on my channel. Subscribe, like this one, leave me a comment with any questions or threats, and check out the links in the description to the materials. So until next time, stay powerful, and I will see you in the next video.